In June 2022, my life was getting to be such a mess. I just finished the school year, which had been a huge disaster, and everything was just building up and building up and building up, causing me to feel very stuck and upset and uninspired with my life. In the midst of this rut, I heard about this concept tossed around by the podcaster Mikayla Jai of the Mindset, Magic, and Manifestation podcast. This concept was called shadow work journaling. She claimed that this journaling had dramatically changed her life. Supposedly, it had helped her learn so much about herself and work through many of her limiting beliefs, triggers, and mindset blocks to ultimately bring her to the next level. I figured that this was exactly what I needed to bring myself to the next level and pull myself out of this rut, so I decided to go all in. Every day for the last 30 days, I've been doing daily shadow work journaling, and in today's video, I'm here to give you a full review with my experience, including everything from before and after mental health comparisons to all of the best and worst parts of the process. And just a little spoiler, it changed my life, so you're definitely going to want to stick around. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. At this point, you're probably wondering, what even is shadow work? I said that it's journaling, but you're probably wondering how it's different from all the prompts that you just hear tossed around on the internet. Basically, shadow work is a method of journaling where the goal is to learn about your shadow self, or the parts of yourself that you hide from your conscious self and the world because you deem them undesirable or you have shame over them. This includes trauma that you have internalized, as well as fears or negative beliefs that you may have about yourself and the world. During shadow work, the goal is to have a conversation between your shadow self and your higher self. During this process, you explore a prompt or a trigger by asking yourself questions and giving yourself advice from the place of your highest, best self. Another way to explain this is uncovering the subconscious beliefs and experiences that shape your current thoughts and behaviors. You are basically asking yourself questions to get to the root of why you behave the way you do. You're kind of like being your own therapist. Just a general example is, say you really hate your voice. That belief is part of your shadow. When doing shadow work, you may ask yourself questions like, why do I hate my voice? Where did this even stem from? The goal here is to find the root of where this hate started, or where a belief started. On the surface, it may seem easy, but it takes being brutally honest to get to the true core of your limiting belief. Once you finally get there, you must tune in to your highest self and tell yourself the truth you need to hear. Say you hate your voice because when you were younger, you were always told by your family to shut up and stop talking. Then you're going to want to tell yourself that they were taking out their personal problems they had on you. It had nothing to do with your voice at all. Your voice is beautiful, your voice is amazing, your voice helps you express yourself. That is just a general example, but it can get a lot more complicated than that. You can use shadow work to journal through many deeper topics, such as love, trust, confidence, and body image blockages, just to name a few. If you want more information on the shadow work process, there are some resources in the description that I recommend you check out. So now that we have laid the groundwork definition of what shadow work actually is, let's jump right in to my experience with it. Start off my review of shadow work, I wanted to give a little bit more of an in-depth view on how my mental health was before shadow work. At the beginning of this video, I gave a little bit of an update. I just said that my mental health was not doing very well. I was feeling very stuck, and that is true. The school year had been such a chaotic time for me. I had been going through a lot of different things during the school year, and once it was finally summer, everything had just built up to a point that I was like, what am I even gonna do with my life? I was limiting myself from doing the hobbies that I really want to. I was limiting myself from having fun. I was so in my head. My mindset was like, no, I have to stick to such a rigid routine and schedule. And that caused me to feel so stuck because I didn't feel like I could do anything that I actually wanted to do. So obviously feeling stuck caused me to feel very depressed and unmotivated, and basically what I would do is just lay around all day and watch YouTube videos or watch shows. And then I get so angry at myself because in my head I'd be like, no, Sadie, you have to be doing all of these productive things. You have to be journaling, you have to be meditating, you have to be exercising, you have to be eating healthy, you have to be doing all these things. And it was just a hot mess and a disaster. So that is where shadow work comes in. And I told you about how I came about shadow work in the beginning. So now that you guys have a little update on my mental health, then we're going to get into the during of the shadow work. So basically how I did it, how it felt along the way, and everything like that. Now for the last 30 days, I have been doing shadow work journaling. And basically what I would do every day is take out my journal and I would sit down and I would either find a prompt on the internet or I would use things that were currently triggering me and trying to journal through them. But just a brief example is, say I was feeling very, very down about my body image. That would be my topic for the day. That would be what was triggering me. Then I would ask myself questions like, why am I feeling down about my body image? And say it's because all these internet people look a certain way. Okay, but why do I feel like I have to be like that? Because those internet people look very happy, and in my life right now, I'm not very happy. And so I was just able to journal through all those layers of body image, or all of those layers of that depression or unmotivation that I was feeling. I journaled about a range of topics, but the underlying theme there was just me feeling like I had to be a certain way or do things a certain way because that's the only thing that would make me happy, or that's the only way that I would be good enough. That's how I did shadow work. And throughout the process, it was kind of just an emotional roller coaster. There were some days when I'd go into shadow work and I really wouldn't feel like doing it because there would be like, there's actually nothing triggering me today. I don't really feel like doing this. But then I would come up with a topic, whether it be a prompt or just something I know had triggered me in the past, and I would journal through it. And at the beginning, it would sometimes be a little frustrating because it would be like, I am literally getting nowhere. I am hitting rock bottom every single time I try to ask myself a question. But as I would persist, I would find out a lot of things. And how it would turn out is most of the days that I least felt like doing shadow work were the days that I found out the most about my beliefs. Because since I was already in a stable mindset, then it allowed me to dig deeper. Now, shadow work also wasn't easy. There were a lot of things throughout the process that I had to admit to myself that I had been pushing down, and it was really stressful to admit them in my head and then make them even more real by having to write them down in a journal. But after I wrote them down, I was able to realize, and I was able to tune into my highest self and say, this is not true. Why am I letting myself believe this? And then in a session, once I journaled through and got to the root of why I was feeling this way, I would tell myself the truth. So going back to the body image example, saying, hey, I feel like I need to be these internet people because they look really happy, and I'm associating that being pretty with being happy. I would tune into my higher self and say, being happy does not have to do with looks at all. It has to do with finding the little things in life. And obsessing over my body image is just making me less happy. So if I can let that go, then it's not even gonna matter and I will be able to be happy. Some days it was like that where I had a bunch of epiphanies and I was like doing so well, and by the end of the journaling I felt very happy and resolved. But other days I just felt very glum throughout the entire day because I was digging up all these things that I had pushed down for so long. But on those days that I was feeling more down, I just made sure to engage in extra self-care practices, made sure to let myself sleep in, made sure to go on walks, take baths, just do things that made me feel really good. Then fast forward to now when I am after my 30 days of shadow work. I'm telling you that, guys, I literally feel amazing. Like, I am not exaggerating. I have been able to give myself so much more grace in my daily life. I've been able to work through so many things that were constantly holding me back from being confident in myself, having fun. I feel like I've had one of the best months that I have had in such a long time, because I'm finally just letting myself be free. I'm finally listening to what I actually want to do. I'm finally just letting myself live and literally just letting myself enjoy things and being myself and being confident and being open to trying new things, but also knowing what I like to do and engaging in those things. And I know that I have a lot more to work through. I know that just 30 days of shadow work isn't going to heal all the trauma that I've experienced in my 14 years. I just wanted to pause here for a minute so I can say a few words about trauma. I want to acknowledge that trauma has many layers and can be a very deep and serious topic. I know in this video it may seem like I'm just tossing it around lightly, but I just wanted to clarify that in this context, I'm using trauma as an umbrella term for any deeply distressing or disturbing event or any experience that has produced a significant amount of negative, overwhelming emotion that affects the way you live your life. I know, however, that trauma can be a very serious medical condition, and I don't want to make light of that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that quickly, and now let's get back into the video. But this was a great start to the journey, and I look forward to doing more shadow work in the future. So that is my little before, during, and after of shadow work. And now let's get into the final thoughts, where I'm going to tell you some of the pros and cons of shadow work, and then we are going to wrap things all up. To sum up my final thoughts, let's first start with the pros and cons of shadow work, in my opinion. Let's first start with the pros. The pros are pretty much everything. You are basically renewing your entire mindset. You are working through all the things that have limited you in the past to get you to the next level and to help you grow so much and to help you be more free and live a happier life and stop letting all these garbage beliefs run the way you do things. In addition to that, since it is a harder process, it teaches you that you can do hard things. You can persist when times get tough. It also teaches you a strategy to help yourself when you're feeling down instead of relying on others. And relying on others sometimes is bad by any means, just it is very important to have a way that you can help yourself. Now for the cons of shadow work. I would say the cons of shadow work is that it is definitely a hard process. It takes a lot of mental energy and a lot of effort, and it can be very taxing on you. In addition to that, during shadow work, you can feel very lost because you are really digging up the foundation that you have believed for so long. You're gonna feel kind of like, where do I even go next? Like, what am I even supposed to do with my life? All of my beliefs that I always held are being uprooted. And it can definitely cause you to fall into a bit more of a depressive state, and it can cause you to be very triggered, and it can just bring up a lot of things that you don't want to be feeling. And if you can't process all of this yourself, this is where I'd recommend going to someone like a therapist, or this is where I'd recommend going to someone that you trust to talk all this stuff out with. But essentially, you are the one who brought about these beliefs. You are the one who chose to believe them. So you and your higher self and all of that guidance and wisdom that you have within can help you get out of this mindset. Overall, I am so glad that I did this shadow work. It definitely lives up to what Mikayla Jai was saying in her podcast. I fully believe that this changed my life. I fully believe that this helped me get to the next level. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my past beliefs. I learned so much about my triggers. I learned so much about my past trauma, and I definitely recommend it to you guys. I recommend it to you guys if you have a lot of unresolved trauma in your past. I recommend it to you even if you don't think you have a lot of unresolved trauma in your past, because you probably do. Everyone has a shadow side to them, and the sooner that you work through it, the sooner you can live the life of your dreams and have the mindset of your dreams and start living more happily and peacefully and freely. That is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much. I really recommend that you try this out. You don't It doesn't even have to be a whole 30-day thing. Maybe just try it out for a week, maybe try it out for 2 weeks, maybe even try it out for a couple days. But definitely, if you want to start, I have resources linked in the description that are very helpful. And if you guys would like me to make a video on shadow work and all of the specifics, because this was kind of just my review, then definitely let me know in the description. Again, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys!